All right, this is our GMC Sierra tweet of the night. You got to watch this, Pony. This is Akil Baddoo.
What happened there?
He's stealing second base. The ball comes in, hits him right in the groin, and as a result, bounces into the glove of the shortstop. He makes the tag, and he's out. Not only is he out, but he's out. You don't want to get hit with that thing right there. Ouch. That's our GMC Sierra tweet of the night.
That didn't bounce. That didn't bounce there was a cup on. There was not a big ricochet there at all.
I'm sure he's feeling it tonight. I don't know. If he's out with a lower body injury tomorrow, you will understand. All right, as far as that Connor Bedard thing, I was hoping that a team like Columbus, even though they're in the Metropolitan, just because of what they are, they're a really good fan base. There are a bunch of people that I know who have season tickets over there, friends of mine, and they were so excited that they might have a chance. And by the way, the Penguins got where they were, which is the 14th pick, so they're going to have to deal with that. But Bedard, you look at his career, in the Western Hockey League, it's unbelievable. 271 points, averaged almost 2.5 points a game. In playoff games, only 7 of them, he scored 20 points. This is the guy who is now billed as the next one. And the challenge for the Blackhawks is you got to surround him with good picks as well. You can't just have him alone. I think McDavid's finding that out. It's taken time for him. They added Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins and others. But they're still not where they need to be. So it's not an easy assignment, but they got a great break tonight.
Oh, they got a guy that is going to be, I think, instantly one of the best players in the NHL. So, yeah, I mean, once in a while we get these lotteries where players are worth tanking for. And this guy is definitely one of those players. That's why it was so surprising that the Penguins lost to the Blackhawks and Blue Jackets at the end of the year, where the Penguins had so much to play for, and those teams were incentivized to lose. And the Penguins still lost that game on home ice to Chicago. But in the end, everything worked out for the Blackhawks because they get a player now that you build around, barring injury. They're going to have one of the most productive players in the NHL. Starting when the kid is 18 years old this season, Bob. He can't buy a beer, but he could probably score 100 points in this league.
Well, the thing about it is I feel bad for Anaheim. They technically were the worst team. Nobody tanked better than they did, and they got nothing to show for it in terms of Connor Bedard. They're going to get a good player, but I liken this to when Mario Lemieux.
Why don't you trade John Gibson now if you're Anaheim? Why don't you move Johnny Gibson out of there and do the Penguins
because they do have some young talent.
Do the Penguins
don't get me
put
wrong.
A feeler out there?
They still need, again, that's a lot of money to bring in. I'm not so sure if he's the right answer anyway. I think you can get other options out there. That would cost them a lot, and they're still a team that's going to need goaltending themselves because they do have some good talent out there. So we'll see. But, it reminds me of when McDavid was taking one. It was right after him, Jack Eichel, number 2. And Jack Eichel, has had not the career the people in Buffalo thought. He moved on. He had neck surgery. Next thing you know, now he's finally playing in a playoff. He scored a goal tonight. And Vegas has responded, by the way, to Edmonton, leading 5-1. Let's go to the lines. Our number one Cochran Go On Better call of the night goes to JR, line 1. Who wants to talk about the Pirates? Hi, JR.
Yes, I wondered if the Pirates keep their winning ways, what they will do at the trade deadline.
So far off, and we just saw a 7-game losing streak that took the wind out of the sails of a 20-8 start. Listen, this division is an average division. So, Pony, I think they can be competitive within the division if, they get some guys back. They've had a lot of injuries. Let's make no mistake about it. Velasquez was pitching very well for them. Cruz is their centerpiece guy. He's out. McCutcheon missed a little time, and now G1 Bay suffered an egg. They've had injuries, and not to mention Burrows and not to mention JT Brubaker, who are guys who are going to be support staff for the starters.
Well, you can't sell if you're in first place. Okay, when you're a first place
Unless
team,
you're the Tampa Bay Rays, you can sell anytime if you're them. They trade people who just win Cy Young awards. Boom, gone. Get more stuff in return.
Well, at this point, you got to play to win this year. Now, things can obviously change. We saw things change drastically in a week's time with them, where a lot of the wins they had banked were followed up with just loss after loss after loss, and they looked terrible in those losses. But as of right now, if they were in first place in the middle of July, they would have to go for it. And if they didn't, oh my goodness, then the wrath would rain down from Pirates fans on Pirates ownership and management. Long way to go, but if you're in a playoff spot with home field, they haven't won a division title since 1992, you can't sell players at that point.
Yeah, but if you overreact like they did with Chris Archer, as it turns out, all of a sudden everything backfires and you set yourself back a few years. It would depend on the trade.
Well, you don't have to make frivolous purchases. You don't have to go big spend. You also don't get rid of guys, though. I think their idea this year was to get rid of some of these veterans at the trade deadline, but you can't do that when you're in first place.
Unless you get an offer you can't refuse. I wouldn't be against that, even if they were in first place. Depends on the guy and what he was doing, and if somebody was willing to give me a lot more.
You can't trade. But you can't trade him for prospects. Like, you can't trade Carlos Santana for a minor leaguer or something like that, Bob, when you're in first place. Well, you got to play for now.
They traded Jose Quintana and got Oviedo. I know he's not been good in his last 4 starts, but he's a guy who has a lot of potential and talent.
They lost 100 games last year.
I understand that. But if there's a deal that's made, and Santana's playing every single day, so that may not be the example I'm looking for. But if somebody else, if a Rich Hill, for example, was doing okay, not great, but okay, and at 43, somebody wants a left-handed pitcher who's in contention, I'm maybe not where I need to be, but close to it, I would consider that. Again,
but when you're in first place, you got to add, not subtract.
Well,
you got to add,
depends
not
how you get to it, at least I think. Let's go to Anthony in Verona. Anthony, what's going on? Anthony, turn your TV down, please, and just talk to us.
Is that a TV, Bob?
Hello?
Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah. My dad just passed away.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Oh, geez, Anthony, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, the Pirates, they ain't doing so good.
Well, I mean, they're still in first place, Anthony. All right. Well, condolences to your family on the loss of your father.
Our condolences, yeah.
But, I mean, 21 and 15, or what is it now, 21 and 15? So, I mean, that was a much-needed game for them. Colorado had been playing well, too. So, bottom line is you'll take what you can get against the team no matter after this. They have Baltimore, which is an improving team. There's still such a long way to go, Andrew. I mean, look what a week did to people. They went from 20 and 8 and people talking about possibly being a division team and going in to a playoff run, and all of a sudden 7 losses in a row. And it can change for anyone at any time. It's such a long season. So I think we should be patient with this and see how it just transpires. And hopefully a lot of younger guys like Ortiz will come up and show that they belong. And I hope there are more of them. I want to see Rodriguez. I want to see Henry Davis. I want to see Travis Swaggerty. I want to see guys come up here and by the end of the year, hopefully form a little bit of a nucleus that they can build on for next year.
Yeah, but I'm sick of saying next year, Bob.
But you really didn't think they were going to be competitive now, did you? Your preseason, what was your preseason?
Not.
Well, again, I'm not going to change my whole expectation based on a week or two. I think you got to wait and be patient and see. I still think 79 was what I was thinking for, and I think that would be a market improvement. But beyond that, I can't see that. This team still has hitting problems all over its lineup.
Yeah, but every team in their division has problems and warts, and that's why I'm more open-minded to things than I was at the beginning of the year. Not that I thought that somebody was going to run away and hide with the NL Central, but they're in a very even division where you've got one clearly tanking team in the Reds, and you've got 4 other teams. The Pirates were looked at as more of a rebuilding team, but even the 3 upper echelon teams leave a lot to be desired. The Cardinals were the only team in the division that made the playoffs last year. They look like they're screwed. They're already benching their catcher and telling him, you're not allowed to catch anymore. You're only a DH.
You got $87 million. That's a pretty expensive DH right now for them.
The Brewers fell apart at the end of last year and only won 86 games, missed the playoffs, and the Cubs look like an even team to me, 17 and 17. So I had 78 wins. You had 79. You're right around there or you're around 500 in August, Bob. You still got a shot to make the playoffs and win this division, in my opinion, because I don't think anyone's going to win 90 games.
I think if one team can, it will be Milwaukee. They're getting Woodruff back. They have some good pitching, and I think they're a better team than what they've shown so far. We got to take a break here.
But who are their big bats? They got no big bats, Bob. Yelich is a shell of himself there in Milwaukee.
Yelich has been an enigma to me. I just can't understand how he went from being an MVP candidate to where he is right now, and that is a problem. I'll grant you that. But I still think overall, top to bottom, they have the best team in this division. I think the Cardinals are just – I have no idea what's happened to their pitching, really. That's their biggest problem right now. So can they improve? We'll see. But that's a tough hole to dig out of, 10 and 24 before they won yesterday. Anyway, we've got to take a break here, Pony. When we come back, we'll talk about what's happened to Bob Huggins. That story has been trending all day. We'll do that and more as we continue on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call right here on Pittsburgh CW.